The peace of the Europa monitoring station broke when alarms started screaming. Deep in the ice-covered moon's interior, technician Mike Johnson was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency beacon lit up his screens. He almost dropped his cup. In 20 years of service, he had never seen a distress signal this powerful. The message came from across the galaxy, punching through subspace with desperate urgency. "Commander Morgan, you need to see this," Mike called out, his voice shaking slightly. Lisa Morgan hurried over to the control panel. Her experienced eyes scanned the data streams. The signal carried authentication codes from the Galactic Alliance, the organization that governed most civilized species in the known galaxy. "This is from the HFY Empire," she said, reading the translation. "They're under attack." Mike felt his stomach turn. The HFY were ancient, wise, and incredibly advanced. If something could threaten them, it was serious. Across the solar system, on the military vessel U.S. Titan orbiting Mars, Captain John Harris received the same transmission. His communications officer, Alice Chen, had already decoded the full message. "Captain, the HFY are requesting immediate military assistance," she reported. "They say they're facing complete destruction." John Harris leaned back in his command chair. This was unexpected. The HFY had always looked down on humans. They called Earth a death world, a planet so dangerous that intelligent life shouldn't exist there. They thought humans were violent primitives, barely civilized enough to join the Galactic Alliance. "Who's attacking them?" Harris asked. "Unknown hostiles called the Void Reapers, sir. The HFY say their weapons are useless against them." On Earth, the emergency session of the Defense Council began within hours. Admiral Susan Baker stood before the assembled leaders, her face grim. "The situation is critical," she began. "The HFY Empire controls 30 star systems. If they fall, it could destabilize the entire galaxy." General Robert Chen pulled up holographic displays showing the affected regions. "The HFY have the most advanced technology we know. If their weapons don't work, then maybe ours will." Admiral Baker interrupted. "Human weapons are different. We use kinetic force, nuclear devices, and good old-fashioned explosives. The HFY rely on energy beams and plasma fields." Defense Secretary Maria Rodriguez studied the star maps. "How long do they have?" "According to their message, weeks at most. Their outer colonies are already gone." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. For the first time in galactic history, the primitive humans might be the only hope for an advanced civilization. "There's another issue," Senator James Park said quietly. "The HFY have never respected us. They've blocked our trade proposals, limited our access to advanced technology, and openly mocked our barbaric nature. And now they need us," Admiral Baker said simply. Back on Europa, Commander Morgan compiled all incoming data. The numbers were staggering. Whole HFY fleets had vanished. Planets with billions of inhabitants had gone dark. She thought about Earth's history. Humans had evolved on a world with predators, diseases, natural disasters, and scarce resources. They had fought each other for thousands of years. Maybe that violent past had prepared them for this moment. The HFY message played again on her screen. The translation was perfect, carrying the desperation of a proud species forced to beg. "To the humans of Earth, we implore you. Our technology has failed. Our weapons are useless. You are our only hope. We know we have dismissed you as Deathworlders, as primitives. We were wrong. Please, help us." Lisa Morgan forwarded the complete intelligence package to Earth Command. She knew the debate would be fierce. Some would want to leave the HFY to their fate. Others would see the opportunity. But she also knew humanity. When the galaxy called for help, Deathworlders would answer. They always did. The United Earth Parliament building buzzed with heated discussions. Representatives from every nation and colony had gathered for the emergency session. The fate of the HFY Empire hung in the balance. But more importantly, so did humanity's future in the galaxy. Senator Paul White stood up first. The veteran politician from North America had always been cautious about galactic affairs. "Let me be clear," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber. "The Xilathi have treated us like second-class citizens for 50 years. They refused to share their technology. They blocked our membership applications to important galactic committees. Now they want our help." Murmurs of agreement rippled through parts of the assembly. Many remembered the humiliations, the rejected trade deals, the condescending attitudes. Representative Liu Wei from the Mars colonies raised her hand. "Senator White makes valid points, but we must consider the bigger picture. If the Void Reapers destroy the Xilathi, who's next?" General Amy Turner took the floor. The military leader commanded respect from all sides. "Let me share what our intelligence suggests," she said, activating a holographic display. "The Void Reapers are systematic. They consume resources, destroy civilizations, and move on. Our analysts believe Earth could be a target within 2 years if they're not stopped now." The room went quiet. The general continued. "Furthermore, this is an opportunity. For decades, we've been the newcomers, the primitives from the Death World. If we save the Xilathi, we change that narrative forever." Senator White shook his head. "At what cost? How many human lives? How many ships?" "All of them, if necessary," a new voice said. President Helen Davis had entered the chamber. The elected leader of United Earth rarely attended parliamentary debates, but this was no ordinary day. "I've been reviewing our options all night," she said, taking the central podium. "This isn't just about the Xilathi. It's about who we are, as a species." She paused, looking around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. "We evolved on a harsh world. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed most species. We didn't make it this far by abandoning others in their time of need." Representative Carl Johnson from the asteroid belt stood up. "Madam President, I agree with your sentiment. But we must be practical. Do we even have the military capacity to help?" General Turner answered that question. "We have 2,000 combat-ready vessels. Another 500 can be retrofitted within weeks. Our weapons are primitive by galactic standards, but they're also unpredictable. The Void Reapers have never faced nuclear weapons or kinetic bombardments." "It's not enough," Senator White protested. "The Xilathi had 10,000 ships. Look what happened to them." "The Xilathi fight like artists," Admiral Susan Baker interjected. "Their battles are elegant, predictable. Humans fight like survivors. We're chaotic, adaptable, and willing to sacrifice. That's our edge." The debate continued for hours. Representatives from Earth's colonies voiced their concerns. The Moon settlements worried about leaving humanity defenseless. The Jupiter station questioned the logistics. But slowly, the tide turned. Stories emerged from the frontier colonies, where humans and aliens worked together. Colonists spoke of Xilathi children, of families just like theirs. "My daughter has a Xilathi friend from the academy," Representative Sarah Mills shared. "They study together, laugh together. Are we going to let her friend's entire species die because of past grievances?" President Davis called for the vote as the sun set over Earth's capital. The chamber fell silent. All in favor of military intervention. Hands rose across the room. One by one, even the skeptics joined them. Senator White was among the last, but his hand went up too. "The motion passes," President Davis announced. "Humanity will answer the call." As the Parliament dispersed, General Turner and Admiral Baker were already making plans. Humanity's greatest challenge lay ahead. "We'll need everything," Baker said quietly. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier willing to fight." Turner nodded. "They asked for Deathworlders. Let's show them what that means." Admiral Frank Robinson had never seen anything like it. Standing on the command deck of Shipyard Alpha near Mars, he watched as humanity's greatest mobilization began. Ships arrived from every corner of the solar system, forming long lines waiting for upgrades and weapons. "Report," he ordered his aide, Commander Janet Foster. "Sir, we have 1,847 military vessels confirmed. Civilian ships are arriving for conversion. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, even luxury cruisers. Everyone wants to help." Robinson nodded. The response had exceeded all expectations. When Earth called, humanity answered. On the surface of Mars, factories worked around the clock. Engineer Kevin Brown supervised the weapons modification program. His team had 3 weeks to adapt human weapons for the fight ahead. "We need more torpedo tubes on the Denver," he told his assistant, pointing at the blueprint, "and double the armor plating. These ships were built for patrol duty, not war." "The metal shortage is getting worse," his assistant replied. "We're stripping decommissioned stations for materials. Then strip faster. Time isn't on our side." In Earth's orbit, the flagship U.S. Liberty underwent final preparations. Captain Mary Allen walked through her ship, checking every detail. The Liberty was humanity's newest dreadnought, armed with weapons that made other species nervous. "Captain, the new crew members are aboard," her executive officer reported. "We're at full complement." Mary looked at the roster. Veterans mixed with fresh academy graduates. They would all need to work together. "Begin combat drills immediately. I want this crew thinking as one unit before we leave." Near Neptune, the outer system colonies contributed their share. Mining ships arrived with holds full of uranium and plutonium for the nuclear weapons. The colonists, used to surviving in the harshest conditions, understood the stakes. Lieutenant Nancy Walker coordinated the civilian fleet conversion. She stood in the Mars orbital dock, watching welders attach weapon mounts to a former passenger liner. "That's the Star Dream," the dock supervisor said, "used to carry tourists to Jupiter's moons. Now she'll carry missile batteries." Nancy checked her datapad. "How many more?" 40 ships waiting. Every civilian captain in the system wants to join the fleet." The transformation was remarkable. Luxury yachts became scout ships. Cargo haulers turned into ammunition carriers. Even old Earth fishing vessels got space modifications and light weapons. On the Moon, Admiral Robinson held daily briefings. The numbers grew each day. 2,500 combat-ready vessels as of this morning, reported Captain Roger Martinez. Another 300 in 2 days. Weapons status: nuclear arsenal at 10,000 warheads. Kinetic projectiles loading on all major ships. The engineers are working on something they call asteroid shotguns, basically launching rock fragments at high velocity. Robinson smiled grimly. "The Telethi won't believe our primitive weapons. What about personnel?" 100,000 soldiers ready for boarding actions. Marines are training in zero-gravity combat daily. The preparation wasn't just military. Scientists worked to understand Void Reaper technology using the limited data from Telethi transmissions. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Supply chains stretched across the solar system. Dr. Karen Phillips led the research team. The Void Reapers use some kind of energy absorption technology, she explained to Admiral Robinson. Telethi weapons feed them power, but kinetic impacts and nuclear explosions, that's different. Will it work? Honestly, we won't know until we try, but it's our best shot. As the 3rd week ended, humanity's armada took shape. Ships gathered at the Neptune staging point, forming into battle groups. Veterans of the Colonial Defense Forces mixed with Earth Navy. Everyone understood the mission. Captain Allen stood on the Liberty's bridge, looking at the assembled fleet. Humanity had never put together such a force. Now they would take it across the galaxy to save a species that had once dismissed them. "All captains report ready, Admiral," she informed Robinson. The Admiral surveyed his fleet one last time. "Then let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. Begin jump preparations." The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Telethi territory. 3,000 ships appeared in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting the distant stars. For the first time in galactic history, A Deathworld species had brought its full military might to save another civilization. Admiral Robinson stood on the Liberty's bridge, studying the tactical display. The Exelathi defense line was visible ahead, beautiful crystalline ships arranged in precise geometric patterns. "Open communications with the Exelathi command," he ordered. Ambassador George Clark adjusted his translator. As Earth's senior diplomat for alien relations, he would handle first contact. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the shimmering form of its Exelathi commander. "Humans," the alien's musical voice carried surprise. We did not expect such numbers." George smiled diplomatically. "Earth answers when our neighbors call for help. I am Ambassador Clark. This is Admiral Robinson, commanding our fleet." The Exelathi commander's crystalline features shifted, their equivalent of shock. 3,000 vessels. Your entire military." "Not all of it," Robinson replied, "but enough to make a difference. We need tactical data on the Void Reapers, everything you have." The Exelathi hesitated. Even now, facing extinction, they struggle to see humans as equals. But desperation won. "Transmitting now. I am Crystal Arch Zix Theta, commanding what remains of our forward fleet. The Void Reapers are unlike anything we faced." Commander Sandra King analyzed the incoming data. The enemy ships were black, angular constructions that seemed to absorb light itself. Their weapons drained energy from whatever they hit. "Their shields are frequency adaptive," she reported. "Exelathi energy weapons just make them stronger." "What about physical impacts?" Robinson asked. "Unknown. The Exelathi don't use kinetic weapons." Robinson turned to the screen. "Crystal Arc, have you tried ramming them? Explosives? Anything solid?" The alien's form rippled with what might have been confusion. "Such tactics are primitive. We fight with precision, not brute force." "Sometimes brute force works," Robinson said simply. As the fleets merged, the cultural differences became clear. Exelathi ships moved in perfect synchronization, like a dance. Human vessels spread out, each captain maintaining tactical independence. Captain Mary Allen brought the Liberty alongside its Exelathi dreadnought. The alien ship was beautiful, all curves and glowing energy fields. Next to it, the Liberty looked like a flying brick covered in weapons. "Their ships are works of art," her tactical officer commented. "Pretty doesn't win wars," Allen replied. The joint fleet moved deeper into Exelathi space. Dead worlds floated past, once thriving colonies now stripped bare. The Void Reapers left nothing behind. "Signal from our scouts," Lieutenant Nancy Walker reported. "Enemy contact in 3 hours. The Void Reapers are attacking the Exelathi colony at Theta Prime." Robinson gathered his captains via hologram. "This is our first engagement. Remember, these things eat energy. Use missiles, railguns, and nuclear weapons. Save your lasers for point defense only." The Exelathi watched these preparations with growing unease. Humans spoke casually of nuclear weapons, of ramming attacks, of acceptable losses. Everything the Exelathi found barbaric. "Your species truly evolved on a death world," Zix Theta observed to Ambassador Clark. "Earth taught us to survive by any means necessary," Clark replied. "Now that lesson might save us all." As they approached Theta Prime, the true horror became visible. Void Reaper ships, each 1 kilometer long, surrounded the planet like hungry parasites. Dark tendrils extended from their hulls, draining the world's energy. 20 enemy vessels confirmed, Sandra King reported. "They haven't noticed us yet." Robinson studied the battlefield. The Exelathi had lost hundreds of ships here, their elegant formations torn apart. "All ships, battle stations," he commanded. "Show them how Deathworlders fight." The human fleet spread into attack formation. The Exelathi watched, amazed and horrified, as humanity prepared to unleash violence on a scale they'd never imagined. The battle for Theta Prime was about to begin. Admiral Peter Grant gave the order that would begin humanity's first major space battle. All ships, weapons free. Show them what Earth can do. The human fleet exploded into action. Unlike the Celathi's graceful formations, human ships scattered in every direction, creating chaos. Nuclear missiles launched from hundreds of tubes, their trails lighting up the darkness of space. Captain Laura Smith pushed her destroyer, the Wolverine, into a sharp dive. "Fire railguns on my mark," she commanded. Her crew, trained in Earth's military academies, responded instantly. The first nuclear explosions lit up space like miniature suns. The Void Reapers, accustomed to the Celathi's energy beams, suddenly faced a different kind of warfare. Kinetic rounds traveling at incredible speeds slammed into their dark hulls. "Direct hit on enemy Vessel 3, reported the Liberty's weapons officer. "Their shields, they're not absorbing the impacts." Mary Allen saw the opening. "Concentrate fire on that weak point. All forward batteries." The Void Reapers responded quickly. Dark energy beams lashed out, seeking human ships. But where Celathi vessels would maintain formation, humans scattered like a swarm of angry wasps. Major Daniel Adams prepared his Marines aboard the assault ship Tempest. "Listen up. We're going to board these things. Remember your training. Projectile weapons only. No energy weapons that might feed them." "Sir, nobody's ever boarded a Void Reaper," a young Marine said nervously. "Then we'll be the first. That's what humans do. The impossible." The battle intensified. Human ships rolled and dove, using tactics learned from centuries of aerial combat on Earth. The Void Reapers, designed to fight predictable enemies, struggled to adapt. Lieutenant Randy Cooper piloted his fighter through the chaos. His squadron weaved between the massive capital ships, targeting weak points with precision strikes. "Remember, people, they can't eat kinetic energy. Use your mass strikers." The Celathi watched in amazement. Zix Theta stood beside Ambassador Clark on the observation deck. "Your pilots, they fight like predators." "We are predators," Clark replied simply. "Earth made us that way." A Void Reaper focused on Captain Smith's destroyer. Dark tendrils of energy reached out, trying to drain the ship's power. But the Wolverine's tactics surprised the enemy. "Cut all power except life support," Smith ordered. "Coast on momentum. Ready all torpedo tubes." The Void Reaper, finding no energy to drain, moved closer. That was its mistake. "Fire everything," Smith shouted. 20 torpedoes launched at point-blank range. The nuclear warheads detonated simultaneously, tearing through the Void Reaper's hull. The massive ship split in half, its death witnessed by both fleets. "They can be killed." The message spread through the human fleet. Admiral Grant coordinated the assault from the Liberty. "Press the attack. Don't give them time to adapt." But the Void Reapers were learning too. They began targeting human engines, trying to disable rather than drain. Several human ships took damage, spinning out of control. "The Miami is hit," reported communications. "They're preparing to ram the nearest Reaper." Grant watched as the damaged cruiser accelerated toward its target. The crew had chosen to turn their ship into a weapon rather than retreat. The impact was devastating, taking both ships down. "That's the human way," someone whispered on the bridge. After 3 hours of brutal combat, the tide turned. Half the Void Reaper fleet was destroyed or damaged. The survivors began to retreat, something that Celathi had never seen them do. "They're running," Zix Theta said in disbelief. "In 50 years of war, they've never retreated." Admiral Grant wasn't celebrating yet. Damage report. "We lost 47 ships. Another 100 damage. But we held." The human fleet had proven something important. The Void Reapers could be beaten. It required sacrifice, chaos, and the kind of violence only a Deathworld species could deliver. "Signal all ships," Grant ordered. "Prepare for pursuit. We're not letting them regroup." The battle for Theta Prime was won, but the war was just beginning. The weeks following the Battle of Theta Prime changed everything. Human and Scillathi forces began working together in ways neither species had imagined possible. The Void Reapers had retreated to regroup, giving the Allies precious time to prepare. Commander Patricia Lee stood in the Joint Operations Center aboard the Liberty. Beside her, Scillathi Tactical Officer Vex Terra studied human battle recordings with growing fascination. Your pilots don't follow any logical pattern, the crystalline being observed. Yet somehow, it works. Patricia smiled. We call it organized chaos. Every pilot knows the goal, but they choose their own path. Together, they developed new strategies. Human aggression combined with Scillathi precision created unexpected results. The Scillathi learned to use their energy weapons to herd enemies into human kill zones. In the engineering sections, breakthroughs happened daily. Colonel William Martinez supervised supply operations that amazed the Scillathi. Where they expected elegance, humans brought efficiency. You repair ships during battle? A Scillathi engineer asked in disbelief. Time is life in war, Martins replied. We can't afford to wait for perfect conditions. Dr. Karen Phillips worked alongside Scillathi scientists in the research labs. The aliens' advanced sensors combined with human creativity produced powerful innovations. Look at this, she told her team excitedly. If we modify Scillathi shield frequencies to match our kinetic weapons, we can punch through Void Reaper defenses even faster. The breakthrough came when they captured a damaged Void Reaper drone. Human Marines had boarded it during the last battle, something that Scillathi had never attempted. Their technology absorbs energy at the quantum level, Phillips explained to the War Council. But there's a weakness. High-yield explosions create quantum instability in their shields. We can exploit that. Admiral Robinson ordered immediate implementation. Human ships received Scillathi sensor upgrades, while Scillathi vessels got human missile systems. The fusion of technologies created a hybrid fleet more powerful than either alone. Captain Mary Allen tested the new systems first. Her ship, the Liberty, now carried Scillathi targeting computers linked to human nuclear weapons. Fire when ready, she ordered during a trial run. The modified missile struck the test target with devastating precision. Scillathi sensors guided it through defensive screens that would have stopped ordinary human weapons. Incredible, Zixthida admitted. Your weapons, our guidance. Together, we're stronger. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Tom Rodriguez, a former mining engineer, proposed something radical. What if we use asteroids as weapons? We strap engines to them. Add some nukes for good measure. Instant dreadnought killers. The Scillathi were horrified at first. Using celestial bodies as weapons violated their sense of cosmic order. But Admiral Baker saw the potential. The Void Reapers won't expect it. They're used to ships, not flying mountains. 3 asteroid weapons were prepared in secret. Human ingenuity and Scillathi technology turned Space Orcs into guided missiles of incredible power. Meanwhile, cultural exchange continued. Scillathi learned human card games, while humans attempted Scillathi crystal singing. The species began to understand each other. Your young ones train for combat from early age. Vex Terra asked Patricia during a quiet moment. Sports, competition, games, Patricia explained. We don't call it combat training, but it builds the same skills. Quick thinking, teamwork, handling pressure. Perhaps that's why you adapt so quickly. You're always preparing for survival, even in peace. Intelligence revealed the Void Reapers were gathering in the Nexus Nebula. Scout ships reported a massive fleet, larger than anything seen before. They're preparing for a final assault, Robinson told the combined leadership. Either we stop them there, or they'll sweep through both our civilizations. The Allied fleet prepared for the decisive battle. Human chaos merged with Scillathi order. Primitive kinetic weapons paired with advanced sensors. 2 species, once so different, now fought as one. Ready all ships, Robinson commanded. Next stop, the Nexus Nebula. Time to end this war. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Nexus Nebula glowed with an eerie purple light as the Allied fleet emerged from hyperspace. Admiral Richard Jones stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt, humanity's newest battleship. Before them waited the largest Void Reaper fleet ever assembled, over 1,000 ships arranged in perfect formation. "All vessels report ready," Captain Betty Lewis announced from her position aboard the Defiant. Her ship had barely survived the last battle, but her crew refused to stay behind. The Allied fleet spread into position. 3,000 human ships mixed with 2,000 Selethi vessels. The asteroid weapons lurked at the rear, waiting for their moment. "Enemy ships are powering weapons," Sensors Officer Kyle Green reported. "They know we're here." Admiral Jones opened a channel to all ships. "This is it, people. Everything we fought for leads to this moment. For Earth, for Selethi, for every world these monsters have destroyed. We end them here." The Void Reapers struck first. A wall of dark energy rushed toward the Allied fleet, seeking ships to drain. But the Allies were ready with their new tactics. "Execute Pattern Alpha," Jones commanded. Human ships scattered while Selethi vessels formed defensive screens. The energy beams hit the crystalline shields and dispersed harmlessly. Behind the screens, human ships launched their counterattack. Lieutenant Joseph Bell led his bomber wing straight at the enemy center. "Remember, boys and girls, physical weapons only. Make every shot count." Nuclear missiles and kinetic rounds filled space. The modified weapons, guided by Selethi sensors, found gaps in Void Reaper defenses. Explosions rippled through the enemy formation. But the Void Reapers adapted quickly. They began using their ships as rams, trying to physically break the Allied lines. This was something new. They were learning from human tactics. Cruiser Valiant is hit. Communications crackled. They're being boarded. Major Daniel Adams and his Marines were ready. "Boarding parties, launch. Don't let them take our ships." The battle became a melee. Ships crashed together. Marines fought in corridors. Pilots engaged in deadly dances between the capital ships. Space itself seemed to burn with violence. Captain Betty Lewis saw an opening. 3 Void Reaper command ships hung back, coordinating their forces. "All ahead full," she ordered. "We're going through their line." The Defiant charged forward, her hull scarred from previous battles. Enemy fire lashed at her, but Lewis didn't waver. Her ship punched through the Void Reaper formation like a spear. "Launch all torpedoes," she commanded. The nuclear barrage caught the command ships off guard. One exploded immediately, its death causing confusion in the Void Reaper ranks. That's when Admiral Jones played his trump card. Release the asteroids. 3 mountains of rock and metal, each the size of a small city, accelerated toward the Void Reaper fleet. Human engines pushed them to incredible speeds, while nuclear charges prepared to detonate. The Void Reapers tried to destroy them, but it was like trying to stop a tsunami with a wall of sand. The first asteroid hit the enemy formation at 20% light speed. The impact was catastrophic. Dozens of Void Reaper ships simply ceased to exist. The nuclear charges detonated, creating a chain reaction of destruction. But victory demanded sacrifice. Lieutenant Bell's bomber was caught in an enemy tractor beam. Instead of ejecting, he turned his craft into a missile. "Tell my family I love them," were his last words before impact. The Defiant, heavily damaged, began to list. Captain Lewis refused evacuation. "If we're going down, we're taking them with us." Her ship's final charge broke the Void Reaper center. The enemy fleet, leaderless and confused, began to collapse. "They're retreating," someone shouted. But this time, there would be no escape. The Allied fleet pursued relentlessly, destroying every Void Reaper ship. After 8 hours of brutal combat, it was over. Admiral Jones surveyed the battlefield. Hundreds of Allied ships were gone, thousands of lives lost. But the Void Reaper threat was ended forever. "Signal all ships," he said quietly. We won. The victory celebration in the Galactic Council chambers was unlike anything seen before. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to honor the heroes who had saved them all. At the center stood humanity's delegation, no longer viewed as primitive Deathworlders, but as saviors of the galaxy. Ambassador Charles Taylor accepted the Treaty of New Alliance from the Galactic Council President. The document formally recognized Earth as a major galactic power, granting humans full access to advanced technologies and trade routes previously denied to them. For too long, we judged you by your violent past, the Council President admitted. We failed to see that your strength could protect peace as well as wage war. Crystallarch Zix Theta approached the human delegation. The Telethi leaders' form shimmered with colors of respect, their highest honor. My people owe you more than we can ever repay, Zix Theta said. You answered our call when we had scorned you. You saved us with the very traits we once feared. Admiral Dorothy White stood among the surviving fleet commanders. The war had aged her, but her eyes held pride for what humanity had accomplished. We lost many good people, she said during the memorial service. Captain Betty Lewis, Lieutenant Joseph Bell, and thousands more. But their sacrifice meant something. The galaxy is safe because of them. The transformation was remarkable. Human military academies now welcome students from across the galaxy, eager to learn humanity's adaptive tactics. Earth's shipyards, once considered crude, became centers of innovation where human pragmatism merged with alien technology. On Mars, engineer Kevin Brown led a new project combining human and Telethi designs. We're building the next generation of defenders, he explained to visiting dignitaries. Ships that blend the best of both our peoples. The cultural exchange flourished. Young Telethi visited Earth, marveling at the dangerous beauty of the Death World. They climbed mountains, swam in oceans, and experienced weather that their crystalline forms had never imagined. Your world is frightening, a young Telethi admitted to her human guide. But I understand now why you're so strong. Survival here requires constant adaptation. Meanwhile, human artists learned Telethi crystal singing, creating hybrid performances that enchanted audiences across known space. The two species, once so different, found common ground in their desire for peace and exploration. Dr. Karen Phillips received the Galactic Science Medal for her work on Void Reaper technology. Her research not only helped win the war, but advanced understanding of quantum physics by centuries. The greatest discovery wasn't technical, she said in her acceptance speech. It was learning that our differences make us stronger together. Former enemies became the closest allies. Human children played with Telethi younglings in integrated schools. Veterans from both species shared war stories, finding kinship in their shared sacrifice. The memorial on Europa listed every name from the war, human and Telethi together. Families visited to remember their heroes, but also to celebrate the peace they had earned. Captain Timothy Taylor, one of the youngest commanders to survive the war, now captained a mixed crew exploring the Outer Rim. His ship, Hope's Dawn, symbolized the new era. Ready for departure, Captain, his Telethi navigator reported. Take us out, Taylor ordered, watching his human and alien crew work in perfect harmony. As Earth's fleet returned to patrol duties, they carried a new reputation. The Deathworlders had become protectors, their violent capabilities transformed into a shield for peaceful civilizations. In schools across the galaxy, children learned the story of the Void Reaper War, how the Telethi, facing extinction, called for help from the species they had dismissed. How humanity answered that call with their entire fleet. How two peoples discovered that their differences were actually complementary strengths. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Deathworlders weren't just survivors of a hostile planet. They were beings who had turned their harsh evolution into the ability to protect others. And among the stars, human ships continued their patrol, ready to answer whenever the galaxy called for help.